So, just before I go to bed tonight, I thought I would tell you the story of this scar and how I got it. Um, Basically, what had happened was the true story of how I got it was that when I was younger, I had a spot there, I think, and I tried to pop it, and the hair actually ended up growing under the skin. Um, so there was a lump there, um, which there was no telling what it could be. You know, it's one of those things that you never know whether it could actually be dangerous or not. So what I did was I just left it there. It was there for years, and then I was going out with a girl who called it my mutant button, and so and so and then when I was in France, my missus in France, Corinne, she had a lump on her breast a few years back now, and she decided that she wanted to get it removed. And so when I told her about the lump that I had here, she instantly thought that it was something a bit more sinister than it was, and she said I should get it checked out and possibly removed. I wasn't too keen on that, just simply because in France, like everything, just like medical expenses, France does not have an NHS, so they don't have the ability to just walk into the doctor's surgery and say, "Can I get this taken off?" and they'll do it. So I decided that. So when I came back to Britain, the first thing that I decided to do was to have the operation to get it removed. So I had it removed, and it was a relatively pain-free operation, but it really hurt when it was healing. And it wasn't how I went round to a friend's house, and she had a newborn baby. I picked up the baby, whose head was whose head was right here, and then the baby just rolled around its head like that and just headbutted me like straight on in the where the wound was healing. I've never felt pain like it, honestly. But the funny thing is that I had some really grim pictures of the operation. I made sure that they took photos like during the operation of what had actually happened, and so yeah. The funny thing is that they'd taken photos of the operation, but um, when people were asking in future, "Or where did you get that scar from?" I always thought, well, instead of saying something normal like, "Oh, I had some fibrous tissue there and just had it removed," I thought I'd come out with something a little bit more interesting than that. And the thing that the stories that I used to come out with, uh, just used to be like legendary. It's every single person who asked me said, "Where did you get that scar from?" I always came out with a different story. Um, and I used to research the stories as well. I used to like go into quite some detail. So I say, well, you know, there was one time it was a fencing club, and me and my mate, we were just having a mess about, so we didn't have our chest protectors or our lames on, and basically I basically went in for a little cheeky semicircular parry, and he just came across with an advanced lunge Zornhau, which I backed off, but he just went and nicked my chest on the way down. There was a lot of blood, a lot of blood. Fencers unusually don't like the sight of blood, which is bizarre when you think about it. And that was like one story. I just used to run with it. It was a freak bagpiping accident as well. That was another thing that I always used to say. Was, you know, I used to have a Northumbrian bag, a Northumbrian goose bag, and so I was, you know, pressing it, and once I noticed that the bead wasn't moving, and so I thought, well, I'll give it an extra hard blow. Did. Bang! The bag exploded right across my chest, and the bead actually lodged in there, so they had to take it out, and it wasn't a particularly pleasant experience. Not really something I'm looking to relive. Um, but like literally every story, I was just always so plain faced when I told it as well. It was everything from a freak harpooning accident to you know a climbing accident, and you know, like with every single one of these stories, I could always crack out the photos of the operation where it shows me on the operating table giving a thumbs up with just blood all down there. And so every story, everyone always believed it. Nobody ever challenged it, and that was what I always used to find so funny, was that I just used to see, like, I've told God knows how many stories about it, and yet all it was, and all it ever has been, was just a little bit of fibrous tissue that needed to be removed. That was all it was. It just got, one day it just got a bit hot and a bit itchy, and I thought, right, get it out, get it taken out, which is what I did. It's left me with it, but the scar itself is quite impressive, but it's going to be a keloid scar for the rest of my life. But there's no way to get rid of it. So all I used to do was just basically tell the most exciting story that I could about it, and none of them was ever challenged.